What's up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson. We are back again with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom. And we have a couple of phenomenal guests with us today. Justin Zimmerman is back, and he's brought a special guest, Dave Gonzalez, and we are talking about how to be a super connector and build your business on relationships. This is going to be a super fun, fast-paced episode. We're going to try to keep it at 30 minutes. I feel like with these two guys, we could probably go 2 or 3 hours, but we will try to keep it nice and short and content pat for every one of you. If you're watching here on Facebook Live, we appreciate it. Make sure to shout out any questions that you have in the comment section. We'll keep an eye out and bring them to our guests. With that being said, the Junior Grandmaster in the co-pilot seat. What's up today, Greg?
Orale, my friend. Happy pre-Thanksgiving. We are all excited over here to get together with friends and family. I know that I'm going to head off after this. I'm going to play a little bit of hooky. I'm going to go to the San Francisco car show today, which is going to be a lot of fun. I do like myself some new cars, but I think that what we're going to be talking about with Dave and Justin is going to be amazing. I'm no joke. Before we went live, I went out and got myself a fresh pad of yellow paper.
Doesn't look fresh.
Oh, shut up, Justin. You shut your face over there. It is clean and unwritten on is what I mean. Because the guys, what we're going to talk about, we're going to go high level, we're going to go, low level. We're going to talk about how to think differently in your business. And this is the perfect time for this because we are in the Thanksgiving holiday season. And so I think it's going to be an amazing thing. So Dave, thanks, man, for coming on. Your backstory was amazing. And so I can't wait to see what you're going to share with us. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And then Justin, welcome to you as well.
Yeah. Justin, thanks for inviting me.
Float the idea. If you want to play around the idea of a little bit of the 10.
Ooh, that is some bad audio.
Wow, goodness, Justin, we gotta get you joining on a laptop or something. What's going on over there? All right, so Dave, let's turn back to you.
Yeah.
So you've been running the one of the longest running events I've ever heard of. I mean, I definitely in the internet marketing kind of community. I mean, this is 10 plus years you've been running a local kind of meetup event every single month. You've never missed one, which is insane. We want to talk about just a little bit about how you've done that and how you got that going and what the results have been, because I think that's one of the most important things people can come away with is just your mentality of building your business through relationships.
Yeah.
I'd love to start there.
Yeah, sure. So the first piece is I'm now doing it with will and volition, but I can look back at my success formula and recognize that I've always moved in the direction of where the energy is and where I move to go. And there's been times that I feel like I've lost a lot of money by doing that. But over time, I now know people that are worth a lot of money, hundreds of millions, tens of millions, a couple of billionaires, and not all of them are happy. So I kind of feel glad that I did it my way, because at the end of the day, part of how I ended up doing Internet Marketing Party was by following the energy, where I was moved to do, and that was, I saw something that worked, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna do something like it in my town. And so I didn't know that it would end up leading to building one of the most, some people call me the most connected man in digital marketing, and that makes it to where there's been, I have a lot of my wealthy friends say, instead of having a boat or a plane, I'd rather have friends with boats and planes that want
to hang out with you,
that want to hang out with me, right? Yeah. Because it's one thing to have friends with boats and planes, and they're like, yeah, I guess we'll invite Dave, as opposed to like, hey, let's bring Dave on board, because when we bring Dave, like that kind of thing. And so access is really what we want, and freedom, and that's what it's about. So one thing that I heard you guys say at the beginning is, a lot of your audiences are solopreneurs, which to me is someone that's running a bit of a lifestyle business. They're probably making somewhere between $60,000 to $300,000 a year, and based on that, I sometimes see solopreneurs referring to themselves as entrepreneurs, and I don't think that they understand what an entrepreneur is. And they also refer to themselves as business owners, and I don't think that they always understand what a business owner is, because a lot of times solopreneurs have a job that if they stop working it, that job, like their money goes away. So to me, that's not a business, a true business. And an entrepreneur is someone who starts something from nothing. It's just an idea. If you buy a Subway franchise, you're not an entrepreneur. You run a small business,
Yeah.
and that is a real business, and that's one that can run with or without you. And so anyway, to me, it's distinctions are really important. One of my favorite quotes or things that I learned, like everybody knows who Helen Keller is, right? And that she's famous because, up until the time she was 12 or 13, she was blind, she was deaf, and obviously she was mute because she didn't, but she had this caregiver that taught her language, and she became a brilliant, famous American author and writer and poet, right? But that's what she's known for. But one of the things that struck me the most when I read this is that she's the most unique human on earth, in that by the time someone's 12 or 13, they have all of the brain capacity formation so that we can experience a lot of things. But for her, she made the distinction that up until that time, she knows the exact moment of her very first memory. And most people don't know the precise exact moment of their first memory. And it gives me goosebumps to think of it. But the moment when the connection was made in her brain about hot water, like wet, and that click, she describes everything up until that moment as the world was mud. So you could argue that nothing exists. And that's, if you think about it, I'm not a religious person, but I think most people work off of either the Quran or the Bible or some
our local Jew here, and that follows the teachings. Mr. Justin, you follow?
The Torah.
The Torah, yeah. No, so they did but the Bible starts with, in the beginning was the Word, and I think there's a reason for that, because our words literally create our reality, literally, not figure of speech. That's not like a cool philosophical idea. This, Helen Keller had no words, had no language, so the exact same world that you and all four of us and all our listeners live in exists the way we perceive it, the way we do, because we have language, right? This woman had no language, so it was just mud. And so to me, distinctions are really powerful. And the more successful that I get, the more that I recognize that, there is no competition and there is no out there. It's only it's completely 100% what I like. The more capacity that I have for love, the more capacity that I have for success, and the more capacity that I have for abundance in my life, the more it shows up. There's not enough of anything. It's about my ability to allow it into my life. Because I've noticed whenever I've had an up level, either because of a retreat or a journey or whatever, all of a sudden, it feels like that whole Parkinson's law thing of the amount of time it'll take to perform any task or project will fill according to the amount of time that you give. I think it's the same way. If you have a capacity to love that's this high, that's how much love you'll have in your life. If you have a capacity this high, all of a sudden your dating or your relationship with your family will fill to it. And anyway, so that's kind of where I want to start, and then you guys go wherever you want.
No, I'm totally with you on that one. I mean, I'm a huge proponent behind that, because of just wherever your mind leads, your body will follow. And a lot of people believe that they can never be the number one agent. They can never achieve a certain level of love, happiness, whatever else. They're stuck in the mires of their current surroundings. But in reality, like you said, once you literally just change your mindset and you believe and think in a different direction, and you lead forward in that belief that you're going to be there, the doors will open up. I did this myself the other day. I was, kind of just lamenting over some stuff, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on, man? And then I had a couple of conversations, and this person helped shift my mindset, and literally within an hour or two, people started coming into my life to solve this problem. And they were hitting me up going like, hey, dude, I was just thinking about you, man. Hey, I really want to do this with you. I'm like, whoa, that's fucking freaky. Like, that shouldn't happen in life, but it did. And I love that you're so into that kind of stuff, because people disregard the fact that, they always say, think happy thoughts or do this. It really is. It helps everything in your actual physical body as well to be in a different mindset. Instead of being negative, you're going to be negative and probably more unhealthy. If you're going to be more positive, more upbeat, you're going to be probably a little bit of a happier life. And it's just people don't think about it in a literal sense. They just think it's like some stupid mindset bullshit, but it's not.
And so just to close that loop, I just want, so people are like if your audience is like, what the hell does this have to do with closing deals or getting more listings? Is like, I was making the distinction early on of like being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, being a solopreneur. They're not interchangeable. I mean, some solopreneurs do run a real business, and the definition, that kind of one of the ways you'll know if you are is if you took a month off, could your business provide more or the same revenue as it did while you were running it? And then the other, the entrepreneur is like, is the thing that you started something that you just created from absolute scratch, like, as opposed to like, oh, well, I bought a franchise or I bought a, and it's just important to have these distinctions so that you're working within the realm of reality. Like, here's reality and here's your perception. And when you align those two things, magic just seems to happen.
Yeah, and
I'd love to throw out
context
a
is everything.
resource
You're like,
for,
yeah, go ahead, Justin.
yeah, just you're illuminating kind of my early venture from being an academic, on the road, to being a lawyer, to finding marketing and e-commerce in like 2000, and coming across one kind of like-minded friend who we went out and got the books E-Myth and Cash Flow Quadrant. And so for anybody listening who really wants to take a deep dive into understanding those distinctions, I think those two books spell it out better than any other ones, especially with like the ESBI. There's the people who have jobs. There's people who have a business they've created, but they've created a job. There's like what you said on kind of the right-hand side, the B for business owner, you can walk away from it. And of course, I at the end is people who have money that does the work for them versus their business or themselves.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
And so, like, I just like to, I can't help myself whenever somebody asks, hey, how do, our solopreneurs do X? I first like to make sure that we're talking the same thing when we're talking about infopreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
First. And so, as a solopreneur, first of all, is a question of like, do they realize that the limitations of what they have? And second of all, are they happy with that? Because there's certain limitations I know of that I'm completely I'm okay with. I'm like, oh, that's just the way it is. Like, I'm not trying to change that.
Yeah.
So, do you know the answer to that?
Do we know the answer to that?
Yeah, Matt, you cut out.
Yeah, I think you cut out a little bit too. Yeah, I think context is everything. So I 100% agree with the distinctions. Absolutely. Yeah, and I think one of the things that we need to keep in mind is the advice that we get from people depends on the context that we're in and they're in. The advice that may work for a small business owner, the advice that an entrepreneur that runs a $30-40 million company might be different and might not even apply to a solopreneur. Right? Especially depending on what your life goals are. If you're a solopreneur and you're taking advice from someone who runs a $40 million company that you need to make yourself as removable from the business as possible, that might not work for the solo entrepreneur because they don't want to not be the linchpin of their own business. They want to be. They love the work. And some people just legitimately love the work. So only point being, the distinctions that you brought out are really important to understand, not only just for yourself, but also just to take advice well.
I love it. Yeah, I could. Thank you. I don't know if you saw, but I involuntarily sighed because my connector, like, I see connections sometimes with people and with concepts, and I'm good at opening loops. I'm not always the best at closing them. So thank you for doing that. Like you really hit home on what I was trying to do, which is because I've gotten advice from people that are good at building $100 million companies because they're my friends, and then found out later it was horrible advice for me running
Right.
$1 million business.
Yeah.
It wasn't that it was horrible advice, period. It was horrible advice, dot, 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 for someone running $1 million business. And it's actually, you could argue that it was horrible advice, period, because someone at that level should know. But
Yeah, there's a case to be made. Depends on how long it's been since they ran a humble $1 million business as opposed to a $100 million business. But yeah, right. You can make that case. I think the best coaches, the people that I really respect the most in like the business coach industry are the people who can make those distinctions, and they can bring their advice down to the level that you're at instead of just giving advice out of their experience. And that is a very hard thing to do.
Yeah. Which, by the way, is one of the reasons that I went to that level of distinction first. Is like, where are you? Do you know that where you are isn't where you might be thinking you are based on the label that you're using? And then number two, now that you have that, like, do you want to stay there or do you want to move elsewhere? Because if you want to stay there, that's seriously, totally, perfectly fine. I mean, did you guys see that Jack Ma, founder of Alibaba, that like makes Jeff Bezos look like he's poor? They built Alibaba to $420 billion in valuation, right? Oof. And he's stepping down as CEO so he can go back to teaching.
Huh? Wow, that's interesting. I hadn't heard that.
Like,
that's
this
interesting.
Isn't bullshit. Yeah. Like, this is real. Like, there's a documentary called Born Rich by Jamie Johnson, the heir to the Johnson & Johnson legacy, as in like the brand, Johnny, like, Q-tips and
baby wipes,
Band-Aids and whatever.
Yeah.
Like he when he turned into a mid 16, 17-year-old teenager, realized like he had an existential crisis of meaning. Like, what am I here to do? And he started talking to a lot of his other friends that were like, the moment they were conceived, they were worth over $1 billion. And the way the trusts are set up, they'll never be able to spend all the money. And a lot of these people, they're like, yeah, we're kind of ashamed of it because it's like, we never will have to work and we'll never run out of money. But we don't really know, like, we feel like life is empty and meaningless. And it's like, it's no fun. Like, you can only play polo and jet around to places in private jets so long before it just becomes normal and boring, right?
I don't know about that. I will take their money and I will try it out, and I may not give it back. I'm not so sure about that.
Well,
they don't.
If there's anything I could say,
yeah. But the point of this movie is like he goes and he interviews, I think like 12, or it's a documentary, like 10 or 12 other heirs of billions and they're like, yeah, this is a real thing, and like so. Everybody's chasing money, and that doesn't mean that they would want to give their money away. It just means that's not where the juice of life is.
No, I completely agree with you. I was actually doing an interview with a gal yesterday, and she asked me if I had a magic wand, I could give you anything on earth, what would you want in the next 3 years? And one of the things that I put on there was true peace. Because in life we can do everything, but it's so tumultuous. It gets crazy for us all the time. And peace, right. And meaning, I think, have more of a value than dollars and cents at some points. I mean, yes, surviving, paying your bills, living a comfortable life to your standards is good and healthy, but being peaceful, that's all one thing that's going to let your body live longer, because you're not going to be under such negative stresses on a consistent time frame. But being able to be content and happy. I mean, Gary Vee's talked about several times about the fact that he has buddies making $45,000 a year. They're on 2 softball teams, are happy as pigs in mud. Then you have multi-billion-dollar friends that are miserable as shit. And it's a mindset.
Elon Musk is on the cover of Business Insider last year, like admitting his psychiatrist said he's clinically depressed.
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
I thought you were going to say Psychology Today. I was going to throw that out there. Then actually, that's kind of true. He's on the cover of Psychology Today.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, it's interesting though. It's how do you throw yourself into 80, 90, 100-hour weeks? There's people that can do it for the love of what they're building and the creativity of an entrepreneur bringing something to life from nothing. There's people that can do it for that reason. And maybe there's a little bit of element of people doing it because they don't want to stop and do anything else because there's other stuff they haven't dealt with. So I can see potentially both sides of the coin as far as why you might want to work, as Elon recommends, 80 to 100-hour weeks getting your business off the ground.
Yeah. I remember at one
Crazy.
point I made the distinction that the 4-hour work week, because I know a lot of, I've met Tim multiple times and I have a lot of mutual friends. In fact, he lives in the neighborhood next to me. And, um, at one point I realized like, where I was going with I have a lot of mutual friends with Tim is like a lot of my buddies are like, dude, that's fucking bullshit. Tim works way more than 4 hours a week. Like, but here's the thing. The distinction I made at one point was it's not about working 4 hours. It's about having only 4 hours of your week be the shit you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it is like, just kind of like just flowing, right?
Yeah,
Like,
the book says, or as he says in the book, there was really kind of two principles. I've recently re-listened to that just to kind of fire up some things in my head. And the things I pulled from that was really the 4-hour work week, whether it's 4, 6, or 10 hours, is to like separate what you do for money and where you spend your time. And kind of going back to the Elon Musk thing, or working, as Tim says in the book, working for work's sake. And there's a little acronym, WFWS or something, working for work's sake. And so if you're just working to work and there's no like fulfillment, then that's kind of like part of the whole book where he gets into like having kind of like the dream line is you have to put something out there that you're working toward that you want, that's going to give you satisfaction, fulfillment, connection, friends, like the delayed gratification lifestyle where, the future of all of this great stuff is, 25, 30 years from now. And it made a whole lot more sense in 2006 when he came out with the book before really all the things that you and I now know about marketing and the internet and commerce and became like mainstream. And you had academics and Gary Vee talked about this. So I share videos with Greg every morning, have these like morning motivation videos. It's kind of part of my morning routine. And like Gary was talking about his childhood and growing up, and how as an immigrant family coming to the United States in 1978 with like 8 people in a 500 square foot apartment, while all the other immigrant families were telling their kids the only way to success was to get A's and B's, he was getting D's and F's. And like he said, you know what? My mom was cool about that. She knew I had a work ethic and I could sell shit. And you could see his whole book's about selling shit. But like the big takeaway that besides that one, which I pulled away from it, and I really look back on my life, was that's all our grandparents and parents strived for us and their children, our parents. And like that was the only opportunity, was to succeed academically. And like he said, in the 80s and 90s, that's all we had. Now, and we can even bring this back to like real estate and marketing, is there's just so much opportunity to do things differently. And your only path to success, and I think that's what attracts a lot of people to real estate, is you can be a DNF student and still make $500,000 a year if you've got a sick, awesome work ethic, you got goals, you got vision, you've got support, and as Dave, the ability to create awesome networking.
Yeah, that's true. And just from what I've observed, Dave, you mentioned something earlier that I've noticed in my own life I wanted to draw out real quick. You mentioned that you have the ability to kind of see connections with people and connections with concepts. That's one of the things I've noticed that really came in handy for me, because I tend to be a connection first kind of business development relationship person first. And I've noticed that like as I've gotten the opportunity to spend time with some successful people that I really don't have any right to be in the same room with in terms of business success, I've noticed that what we've connected on is that it's the ability to talk concepts and to see relationships that you can potentially help and make connections between people. That's been super, super useful, unbelievably useful. And it sounds like you've kind of noticed the same thing about your own life.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So is that choking over here? I'm assuming that's where it comes into being like the super connectors, just building those relationships and paying it forward first, more of a mindset versus trying to get something before you give something. How have you seen that, Dave, work in your life? Obviously, there's a 10,000 stories, but I mean, something that's simple and easy where people can start off small and being able to give something first, the law of reciprocity, and kind of when did that click for you? And you're like, this makes some serious fucking sense. Like,
well,
this is real.
Well, see, the thing is, I've always been that way, so it's hard. I mean, if you want to go to where it clicked, is probably when I reached puberty, and I'm 5'3", so I was always the smallest boy in school,
Hmm.
and I was sometimes smaller than the girls, and that didn't really matter when we were like in kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth. But when we started hitting fifth and sixth grade, boys started getting competitive with the other boys in a way that was more meaningful. Like it was more, like we weren't playing like Tonka trucks and stuff. Like now we were like trying to impress the girls and stuff. And I think at some point I realized that if I want that my because I was so much smaller, that my best advantage was to learn how to be charming and how to be a wingman to the bigger, faster, stronger, better looking boys. If that makes sense. Like kind of like the sidekick. And that just and because boys, can be like, we can be like fucking, bullies and mean and stuff. I realized that if I was gonna hold my own, it was better for me to have to be saddled up with bigger, stronger, like badder dudes,
Hmm.
so I learned how to be able to get in anywhere, even though uh, I wasn't just
The big tall guy,
hmm
and so you
yeah.
were able to start doing those connections. You saw, you're like, okay, if I want to get to, if I'm the shorter guy, I want to hang out with that chick over there. I got to get in with these dudes. What do these dudes want? Give them that. They give me
and
access to
and
hot
and
chick.
it, and it and it was usually being funny, being a class clown,
Hmm.
or like like hey, uh like I'm gonna bring, like we would play marbles or tops, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
I would like say, Mom, I want to go to the store and get a bunch of marbles, and I'd like I'd have more marbles than I needed, and I'd be like, hey, do you like that one? You can like I was always like looking at how I could give and be somebody that people wanted to have around, because I was always the one that either brought people together
Right.
or added to the thing or was funnier or things like that. And I didn't realize that until much later, by the way. I didn't know I was doing it. I think it's just like people
Yeah.
that have, you hear a lot of
I got a
CEOs that
question when
have,
you get a chance.
go ahead.
Yeah, how did you turn the tides? Because I think a lot of people listening to this can relate to the story of being the underdog. I mean, there's only, a couple of number ones in any market, any place, any kind of like niche or space. And so, you kind of like, you saw the big dogs, you saw kind of how the game works, and like you went to them, but at some point it seems like you turned the tide, and instead of you going to them, you started having people come to you. And so you kind of created your own foundation, your own playground, your own game. And so, like, what were some of those? Because I think that might be some of that leverage and that transition point that I think can help explain your success, and how and other people can possibly emulate that. Is that like, how did you get the internet marketing party where now all these big, you know, well-known people are now coming to your court?
Yeah. I think that's an answer nobody listening is gonna like, but that's the good old, that's just persistence and yeah,
Hard
it's
work.
just hard. I mean, and that's where I go back to the very beginning, right? About following your flow and following the energy. Like you, unless you're gonna go to become a mogul that's trying to start $1 billion company or something that's like really, really, really big. Because I do know people that have built $100+ million companies, and they're like, yeah, this bullshit about follow, like, do stuff you like, and do things, start businesses that you're interested in, because there'll become a point which, no matter how much grit, hustle, and like Viking energy you have, like there'll come a point where like it's not sustainable and you'll burn out. But if you're
Yeah.
interested naturally in the thing, you can plow through it, right?
Hmm.
But I think there's some people that are ridiculously leverageable. Like, I mean, that they know they're really, really strategically brilliant, that they can work in something that they have no interest in, right? So
Mm.
again, coming back, Matt, coming back to your idea of like giving people advice to where they are. So
Hmm.
what I'm about to say, to answer your question, Justin, is for people that are solopreneurs that want to continue like playing in that realm, or maybe go to the point where they build a team, or where they have a real business that can run without them. I would say that's what that advice is for, is you find something that you can stick with for, if you're not, like, think of it, this is the answer. This is the answer. If you're not willing to stick with something, if in your heart of hearts you can look yourself, like, have a glass of wine or not, right? A couple glasses of wine or whatever your pleasure is, or you're just straight sober, and like look at yourself in the eye and be deadly honest with yourself. Is this something you can feel good, confident, and comfortable about doing for the next 3 to 5 years? And if you
That's
have
really good.
if you have any anxiety, resistance, fear, unsurety, hesitance, then, I mean, if that's your best thing, just do it anyway. But know that, like just kind of keep moving towards the stuff that. Now, that is weird too, right? Because what if the thing you really, really like doing is looking at beautiful women?
That's
Well,
not a bad hobby, buddy.
I know.
Okay.
No. But my point is how do you monetize that? Like,
Right.
that's where I'm going. Like,
I think
Yeah.
Hugh Hefner figured that out.
no, but
Yeah,
there is
he
a
did.
way. But the thing is, like, it's not gonna come easy.
Yeah.
It's gonna be. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, monetizing. Well, but the point is, I love the point, because the point is that you can't just do something you're passionate about. You have to find something that solves a problem for somebody else, and you have to, if you want to find something that you're passionate about, that doesn't just automatically generate the right to make income off of it. It has to be valuable to other people. And that's the intersection of those two things, what you're passionate about. I love that, though. Like, decide if this is something you can do for the next 3 to 5 years, because most people approach marketing like, hey, I'm going to try this for a week, and then the next week it's something different.
And the addition to that, to really like drive it home, is that's all you're gonna do for the next 3 to 5 years.
Ooh, that's good.
Not I'm gonna do this while I also do this other thing, and I'm gonna try this other thing and see which of the 3 or 4 or 5 things works best. Like, I'm all in with this thing for the next 3 to 5 years.
I've got a good real world example.
What's up?
I got a buddy. His nickname in college was Beano, and so that gives you an indication of what he enjoyed doing. And so he loved partying. He loved going out to nightclubs. He loved the whole kind of like Miami glitz and glamour, Ferraris, all that stuff. And so he wanted to, and I'm proud of him for this, because he made the thing he wanted the most as far as a lifestyle into a business. And so he started going to clubs, and it was at the time before like digital cameras and everything. And so he'd go to clubs and bring his camera, and he'd show up and make a video. This is like in mid 2000s, right? And so he started getting known. Club people would start hiring him, and then he'd make connections, and then he started getting invited to like race shows and filming Ferrari clubs. And then now he's got a business where he basically is the guy in Miami that does like high-end, like super mega yacht filming commercials for yacht brokers. And so he's just kind of followed, like you said, he kind of meandered the way through the party scene, the girls, the cars, the boats, and now he lives in a nice high-rise, shooting and editing videos with a drone and a couple of editors. And he's still Beano.
That's so cool. That's so cool. So does that answer your question? Because we got here by you asking, how did I turn the tide from being the giver and the like, kind of the beta.
I feel like you made me answer the question myself at the end. I kind of felt like I just ate the answer. So you made me come up with it. So I was like, yeah, I answered the question with that last story.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a matter of like, first of all, you find something that you enjoy doing, and you grind it out for a couple of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and knowing that there's risk involved, that you might grind it out for 3, 4, 5 years, and that industry might go away, or there might come some giant 800-pound gorilla competitor that like leaves you in the dust, or it might be that you become the guy, like Beano.
That's right. Well, we should all be so lucky to become Beano. All right, let's let's do this. So, Dave, what's the best way to kind of reach out and get into your world, get connected, and learn about what you do?
I don't do Facebook a ton, but that's probably the best way. I mean, like like this is the thing, right? Like I don't I don't check my own email. I have somebody that does that for me, and they
Right.
will let me know like so if I said, "Oh, here's my email address," like
hmm
you know,
it's your VA that we get it. That
it's
yeah
yeah, and so like I'm not gonna give my cell phone on here, not because I'm like
yeah.
that cool, but it's just like I like
What
you know
about
like I'm
LinkedIn? Can we connect with you on LinkedIn?
yeah, you can do that. Like
All
I
right.
don't do much.
What
I
about
don't spend much
what about the
marketing.
internetmarketingparty.com? You know, don't
Yeah,
you
yeah, I
have an
mean like I
email
can.
list? You send out stuff. They should go to
Yeah,
that site and they can see a lot of what you do.
yeah. I mean, see, this is the thing. Like I kind of like that you asked that question because like let's create the largest feasible buckets that would make someone want to connect with me, right?
Yeah.
One would be they want like they what would I'll let you guys guess. Like what would be like big categories?
Big categories. Um, well, let's see. Well, the first one and no brainer, I would think, would be they want to hire a marketing agency to grow their multi-million dollar business.
Okay.
So that's
Another one,
one.
which comes down to access, right? They
Okay.
want access to my network,
Okay.
right? So they would
Okay.
want access to my network, or they would want maybe to have me on their podcast or that blog. Like
Mhm.
they would want my my
Your
my
knowledge or
They,
infrastructure.
they want to
yeah,
rent your brain.
they would want like the way that you would want Gary Vee, or you're like, oh, if we
Mm.
could get um a homeboy from On It, Aubrey Marcus, like
Albert Marcus. Yeah.
they want my cachet, right? Whatever. Let's
hmm
just so it's cachet, access,
hmm
or um they want they want coaching, consulting, advice,
hmm
or something like mentorship, right? So those would
Yeah.
probably be the three main categories, right?
Okay.
Um, unless there's some sexy
Access, cachet,
ladies,
and coaching.
unless there's some sexy ladies that would just, you know,
That's right. That's right. If
And
you're a
then there's
sexy
cell
lady
phone.
listening to this podcast, within the sound of our voice, if you're within driving range of Austin,
hey,
Texas,
what you went
that's right.
from our voice to my voice. What's this, Matt? You're like co-opting.
Well, you have to be in within driving range of Dave in Austin, Texas. Like it doesn't matter whether you're within driving range of me. Yeah. So what matters is are you within driving range of Dave?
This is awesome. So, either
All
way,
right,
so
and then
like no, but I'm going somewhere with this, right? And then we'll wrap
okay,
up. But like, there's only a handful of let's say, categorical reasons why someone would want to reach out to me in the first place, right? So if those
okay,
reasons were there, like I want to kind of give like a little value beyond just conceptual ideas and stuff, and four smart dudes brainstorming about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is all right. If you wanted to reach out, because this is a lesson in how like why. So it depends on where you are, right? Are you
okay,
in the world of your assets, and that could be financial capital, that could be social capital, that could be intellectual capital, that could be access capital. So, like, if someone is brothers with a person that owns StubHub and they can get me into any concert, anywhere, anytime, and they know that I like festivals and concerts, then they have assets, they have capital. If someone is very wealthy, but they want to expand their network, then they have assets, right? But if somebody's at the bottom of the barrel, like they're like depressed, they're miserable, and they're looking for a way to get out of that, then they need to come up with a way that, like, how do they get my attention in a way that they're not a drag, but instead they can show up as an advocate, as a you know what I mean? So the first thing is like assess where you are if you have any interest in reaching out to me, and then accurately determine how much research am I willing to do on Dave beyond listening to a 45-minute podcast with him, Justin, Matt, and Greg, and then like okay, well I'm willing to research him on Facebook. Oh wow, he's into jujitsu. Oh wow, he has a 17-year-old daughter. Oh wow, he likes going to music venues and concerts. Oh wow, he runs Internet Marketing Party. Wow, like, hey, I'm planning on being in Austin in 2 months. I'm gonna reach out to him and be like, hey, I'm gonna be in Austin on these like create a context so that you create an opening in conversation instead of asking for something, instead of wanting something, like create conversation, create context, and then Like if my EA were to be like, hey, you got an email from somebody that heard you on Matt and Greg's show, and they're going to be in Austin, and they have a bunch of people in the real estate community that they want to bring to their internet marketing party. Do you want to chat with them? You're like, yeah. If they're like, hey, I really liked what you talked on Matt and Greg's show. Can I pick your brain?
Yeah.
No.
Good.
No,
Like,
no.
I'm gonna block. I'm gonna block the
Yeah.
block the
That
block.
was really good because that was a primer. That was a primer in how to connect with successful people.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm
It was
gonna
really
show
good.
you something. I'm gonna black out his name because it's not nice. But literally,
'Cause it's
um, literally, because it's not. I mean, that's not what this is about, right? So he
yeah.
hit me up on Facebook, and then he hit me up, and he's like, "Hey, what's your cell phone? I lost my I lost my phone, and don't know if I still have your cell." And I'm like, "Here's my cell." And he's like, "Okay, cool. I'd love to connect with you." And I'm like, "Okay."
What?
So he sends me
What?
a text message that says, "Hey, man, what's up? Are you available for lunch early next week?" And then he says, "It's fill in the blank." Right, by the way,
Yeah.
he
It's
tells
Matt
me his
Johnson.
name. Yeah, um, and
That's
then I
that's
said,
how you know it's not me because I don't offer to get together with anyone in person ever.
That's a
and
true
then I
fact.
said, I only eat one meal a day, right? And then I said, I do extreme intermittent fasting, and it's dinner. And he's like, nice, dinner it is. What day and time works best for you? And I'm like, not sure right now. I'm traveling.
Not getting it.
Ping me next week. And he's like, cool, be safe. And then he's like, hey, what? So he pings me on Monday. Hey, Dave, what's up? Being Thanksgiving, it may be tough to sync up for dinner. I'm open today and tomorrow, but driving to Dallas on Wednesday. Do you have times any of those days, or should we try for next week? I'm like, next week. Thanks for following up. By the way, what's the topic you want to chat about? Just so I have, I mean, you can see, like, this is an actual,
Mhm.
just so I have an idea. He said, I'm getting out there with freelance work and wanted to pick your brain about some ideas. Sound good,
Ooh.
brother? So I
No.
replied,
Mhm.
got it. Um, I have some top of mind ideas. One thing to consider is I don't like having my brain picked. I pre I prefer win-win frameworks. What what and second, what kind of freelance work? And I put parentheses category. Also, we can do a call. And then I put this little like so I don't want to I'm not trying to be mean,
Hugs.
you know, like little
That's
cute
awesome.
little jelly daddies hugging. He's like, understandable, poor choice of words. Freelance work would be email content, autoresponders, email sales copy, blah blah blah. Makes sense? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then like now we're having a conversation. I don't even know why I told you that. I think it's
That's
just
hilarious.
like
That's yeah, we do get that a lot. I think people are just, they don't understand how to show that you value a successful person's time, and they don't understand the currency, right? Because if you, I mean, you can get a hold of just about anyone, no matter how busy they are, if you approach it in the right way and they get value out of it, which could also be just if it's a mentoring relationship, it could just be, hey, give me something to do that you would suggest that I do right now, and let me prove to you that I'm serious. Let me go do it and tell you the results.
it's so
Like it could
fulfilling.
be something as simple as that.
That's why people watch cooking shows and Bob Vila, because people like to see things done, especially any successful person. Any successful person is doing a lot of knowledge work, and knowledge work
Yeah,
has a lot of projects that don't have a clear beginning, middle, or end, right? That's
yeah.
why sometimes I actually like going out of my garden and picking weeds when I'm on the phone, because it's like, oh, there's weeds are growing up, and I'll go and I'll pick them, and it's like, like there's no more
Yeah.
weeds in that section, and it's a very
It's
fulfilling
so
thing.
funny you say that. That's one thing I miss about like the trade shows, doing trade shows and stuff like that, is there is a very defined beginning, middle, and end, and there's a sense of accomplishment. Yeah, so you said most people are in that world where they don't get that because they have all these projects going on.
Yeah, so if you reach out to someone who's really successful and says, "Hey, I'm looking for a mentor, and I've listened to this weirdo on a podcast say that," I'm kidding. They say that I should just reach out to you and see ask you to assign me something and let me prove to you that I'll get it done.
Yeah.
Dude, I bet that would have like a 98% hit rate.
Yeah,
Because so few people follow through. It's
yeah.
ridiculous how few people follow through. It's not even funny. It makes all how the like fucked up the world is make complete sense. Because nobody, no, like I'm in a men's group, and one of the
That's
first
true.
things we do after we do the initiation and kind of like like welcome each other to our group, circle of men, stuff. What like is like we do the integrity round, which is like I judge that I'm in integrity with myself or out of integrity with myself. I judge that I'm in or out of integrity with everyone in this group, and I judge that I'm in or out of integrity with everyone outside of this group. And man, like very few integrity is defined as saying you're going to do something and then doing it. Period.
Mm-hmm.
And like so few people.
Good. It's really good accountability.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's
well,
awesome.
Justin, I hope
Well, Dave, it was a pleasure.
Justin had this idea about us talking about internet marketing and stuff. I don't think I said a thing about
don't think we
opt-ins or
did.
email campaigns, other than when I was talking about this guy that wanted to pick my brain.
Exactly. Poor
I
guy.
hope I didn't let you down, Justin.
No, things just started to really start cooking right now. It's sad that we got to go. And I was thinking, you just, internet marketing was the low hanging fruit, but the roots run deep on a lot of other stuff. And I think that's what we nailed.
Sweet. Well, thank you for having me.
Excellent.
And
Thank you so much, Dave. It's a blast.
Yeah. And you can find me on Facebook. I go there from time to time, like Facebook.
That's right.
Just
You get a
don't go to
message
pick his
back, though.
brain.
Yeah,
No
exactly.
brain picking.
No brain picking.
Not like weeds.
That's
I
gonna
hope
be my
that all
next
comes
message
out
to
with
you.
like from a place of love. Like I'm not trying to be a douchebag or like if you want to connect with me, here's how. and,
Right.
and anyone else.
Bring value when you want to connect with someone. Don't just come empty-handed and be like, "Can you give me everything you have?" But I'm not going to give you anything of mine. Bring something of value. Like find an interest point and go from there. It's good, very very good information. A lot of people hopefully will benefit from that stuff right there. Matt.
All right. Well, gentlemen, Greg, what's the best way to connect with you quickly?
Guys, go to bookmcdaniel.com. It's where you're going to be able to sit down with me. We'll talk about EXP. Let's talk about your next steps in real estate. Let's talk about, how we can put more money, more deals, more connections. Like, we're not going to have Dave. We're not going to have you call Dave, but we're going to put you in front of people like him that are connectors, people that are intelligent, people that can help you get to the next level. So if you're interested in growing your business, lessening your work time because of the processes. And Matt, I did say processes, and I'm not breaking out in hives. It's okay. You guys go to bookmcdaniel.com. Let's take 30 minutes. Let's talk about EXP. That's how you do it. Matt, pick a color, and how can they rate and love on the show?
Go to iTunes or Apple Podcasts. Leave us a rating and review. Make sure to give Dave a shout out. Thank him for his time, his contribution when you leave a rating and a review.
Yeah.
And let's just do what color of the bow. Go with yellow. I don't know why. Just a nice yellow ribbon around this package of an episode. Let's wrap it around. Let's tie it up. And let's do it.
All right, guys. We love you. We thank you. We appreciate every single one of you that has listened and is going to listen to this show. We could not do this without you. You guys are the reason we keep showing back up. We'll keep bringing people like Dave, like Justin, to the show to bring more value to your lives. So, again, we love you. We appreciate you. And if you guys are listening after Thanksgiving, tough shit. But all of you guys are listening before it, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. And until then, guys, peace out, ninjas. We're gone.